Okay, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Alhamdulillahi wa kafa wa salamun ala ibadihi alladhina istafa amma ba'd. We are going to the same chapter, Hajj, and the rulings related if you are being attacked, meaning if someone attacks you in order to cause bodily harms or take your wealth away, or nauzubillah, violate your honor, attacking the woman of the household, or so on, so forth, you need to defend. We talked about the rulings, that if someone is attacking, let's say the wife, the woman of the household, in order to do something wrong with them, then it's obligatory to defend. Honor is the most precious thing or most important thing for a human being, especially for a believer. And we talked about the rulings. What if someone is trying to cause physical harm or even trying to kill you? It is obligatory to defend or not? You have the right to defend, but it's not obligatory, especially at the time of fitna. And the wealth is the same. You can defend protecting your wealth, and you can let the person get away or steal. Especially you have to see what he's trying to steal. If it is something little or minor or insignificant, then you can let him take and run away, instead of defending and getting into armed confrontation or so. Okay, so let's move ahead. وَمَنْ رَوَتَ الْأَجْمَاعَ فِي ضَيِّقٍ مِنَ الدُّرُوبِ لِيَضْمَنَ مَا جَنَتْ لَا تُقَيِّدِ. If someone has tied an animal, okay, in a narrow path or so, meaning in a pathway which is narrow, if someone has tied it, he tied his animal, and that animal caused what we say harm to the people using the path, then who will be responsible? The owner of the animal, because this is not meaning it is a pathway that is used by normal people. You shouldn't have tied your animal therein. And the other condition is the path is narrow, not wide one. If it is wide one and you have tied in one corner, people can use it from the other side also. وَقَوْلَانِ بِالْإِطْلَاقِ إِنْ كَانَ وَاسِعًا. Meaning if the path is wide enough, okay, then and someone has tied his animal and it caused harm to the passerby, is the meaning whether the owner will be responsible or liable for the damage or so. Qawlani, meaning there are two opinions. One is that yes, it is him who has tied in the normal pathway, he will be responsible. The other opinion is no, because it's wide enough, so the person who has been harmed by the animal should have been wise enough and kept the distance, meaning use the other side of the path. If it is wide enough and the animal is tied the other side, for example, yes, see the other near the wall, and you have plenty of space to. So the correct opinion looks like that he is not, even though the owner of the animal should also should have acted in a more responsible way. Okay, كذا في اقتناء كلب عقور بأجودي. And it is the same ruling if someone is keeping كلب عقور, a dog that is known to be akur. Akur means aggressive. Okay, there are some dogs that are aggressive. So if you are keeping aggressive type of dog and it attacks and causes damage, physical or so, then the owner will be liable. Okay, some type of bulldogs also prohibited, isn't it? Banned. And you see in the news sometimes someone getting killed and someone getting attacked. Okay, كذا الحكم في هر يسيد الطيور. And the same rule applies for a person who is keeping a cat as a pet, but that cat is known to hunt the birds and hunt the chicken also. Okay, the cats of different type. Some are domesticated and they don't bring any harm, and some of them not domesticated. They attack the hens, chicken, and try to eat them or kill. So if someone is keeping that type of cat and it attacked or killed the chicken of the neighbor or so this person will be responsible. Why? because you kept an animal that was expected to bring harm to the hens or chickens of the neighborhood, and you didn't keep it tied also. If it is of that nature, then keep within your home, within your premises. Why you let it go out? Okay, لا إذا بال في شيء وولغ الذي ابتدي. What if these animals like dog or cat, if they urinate in the garden of the neighbors or so, or ولغ الذي ابتدي, or yes, start drinking from the water of something, is the owner will still responsible? He's saying, the author is saying no, because these things are understood and these things are accepted. For example, cat, sometimes, yes, even the dog, if they are not trained, they may urinate in him. And you can see many times they are passing and they. But before, people used to be more polite. And 10, 15 years ago, you used to see the owner collecting the discharge if the dog, what we say, defecates itself also. But nowadays, you find many people, they ignore and pass by quickly. These dog owners, they used to have the gloves and the bags. Some people may still do it, but some people just ignore and try to run away.
80% they do in this country. It is almost legal.
It is legal, or it is legal requirement.
Yeah.
Okay, وَيُوقِدِ الْإِنسَانُ نَارًا بِمِلْكِهِ وَيُجْرِي عَلَيْهِ مَاءَهُ غَيْرَ مُعْتَدٍ فَلَيْسَ عَلَيْهِ غُرْمٌ تَعْوٍ لِجَارِهِ بِهِ مَا سَوَى تَفْرِيطِهِ وَالتَّزَيُّدِ. And now he's saying, if a person is setting up a fire within his boundaries, meaning in his land, or he's trying to dig a well or something, okay, غَيْرَ مُعْتَدٍ, but at the same time, he is not being aggressive, or he is trying to avoid harm to his neighbors or so. فَلَيْسَ عَلَيْهِ غُرْمٌ تَعْوٍ لِجَارِهِ. In that case, if some damage happens to the neighbor, there is no liability upon the person. Meaning he is setting up a small fire, trying to burn the, what we say, the bushes or the, how do you say?
Barbecue. This time is on barbecue.
Okay, even barbecue, let's say, and the smoke is going, or some of the, what we say, sparks are going and causing a little bit harm to the neighbor, that is minor. But if he's setting up a big fire, and yes, the danger is there that the fire catches the house or other things of the neighbor can be burned, then he will be responsible. If it is a big one and he's being neglectful, not behaving in a responsible way, then he will be liable. Okay, ma tafritihi wa tazwidi. If he is being neglectful, for example, he set the fire and then he left doing his work on the computer, he wasn't there. So in this case, he is neglectful. If something happens to the neighbor's garden or any damage happened to them, he will be responsible, because it is tafrit. What tazayyudi, or if he is setting a big fire, okay, big one, then obviously the big fire gets out of control and can bring damage to the same person and to the neighbors as well. In these type of cases where he is neglectful or setting a big one, and if what we say, if the fire brings or causes any damage or harm, then he will be liable. وَيُمْنَوْ مِنْ إِنْشَاءِ مُذِرٍ بِجَارِهِ وَيَزْمَنُ مَا أَرْضَى بِحَذْرٍ مُجَدِّدِ وَيُمْنَوْ مِنْ إِنْشَاءِ مُذِرٍ. And a person is prohibited from doing something that eventually bring harm to the neighbor. For example, you are going to open a takeaway. Okay? You are going to open a takeaway, let's say. Then obviously, if it is a residential area, and if a neighbor, what we say, yes, it will bring harm to the neighbor. It will bring harm to the neighbor. Okay, there was a case, a person was finding hard to sell his home because next door was a takeaway. And the mortgage, these banks also, they don't get I mean, you won't be able to get mortgage. I mean, I'm not saying that is halal or something. I'm just mentioning that these type of actions can bring harm, or there can be harmful consequences for the neighbors. So that's what he's saying. Don't do anything within your premises if it is going to bring harm to your neighbor. وَيَضْمَنُ مَا أَرْضَى بِحَذْرٍ مُجَدِّدِ. And if anything damage or anything happen to the neighbor, he will be responsible. Okay, if you are opening, for example, ghassala. What ghassala means? Laundry. Okay, so that again, if it is in a residential area, the smell and many other things, or the noise of the machines can cause harm or disturbance to the neighbors. Okay, ولا غرم في ملقى ممر بموهل وأشباهه من ناف غير مفسد. Okay, there's nothing, meaning there's no punishment or penalty if you, yes, if little water goes to the pathway, or if you have thrown a little litter or something. Okay, for example, you have yes, you were using water, you're watering to the plants of your garden, and some water, what we say, got into the neighbor's garden or so. That is also bearable, and people don't make a big issue out of it. But if you have thrown something like the skin of banana or the skin of watermelon or so in the pathway, and some people, those who are using the path, or tripped or fell down, then you will be responsible, because these things are known to bring harm. Meaning, if you throw the banana skin in the main street, or what we say, the skin of watermelon, then if a person steps over, it is likely that he will be, how do you say, tripped over and fall. Yes. So he will be responsible. If he sustains any injuries also, yes, the treatment or the money will be taken from the person. Okay, and he's saying, وَمَنْ يُدْخِلِ الْإِنسَانَ حَتَّى يُذِيفَهُ فَيَسْقُطُ بِبِيرٍ إِنْدَهُ لَمْ يُهَدِّدِ. If you have hosted someone, meaning if you allowed someone to visit you or enter your home, and let's say there was a well within the premises or so, which had no boundaries, and you haven't let anything, meaning any mark or anything that the other person should be aware. Meaning sometime in the road, even when there's a bump or something, they let you know. Okay, what do you call signpost? Yes, roundabout signpost. So if there's a well without any boundaries, and you invited some people to visit your home or your garden, and if someone falls there and hurt himself, or let's say loses his life or so, he will be responsible. Why? Because you allowed him and you didn't put the boundaries, and neither you put any warning signpost or something. Okay, back in those days in the village of my grandfather, yes, people used to have well in some side corner also without any boundaries. They used to build home, okay, and put the, what we say, the roof and no boundaries. And they used to go to sleep during the summer. What happens if you woke up and you are still not 100% alert or awake? Yes, there many times the children especially, they fell, and casualties. My dad used to get really upset. He would say, look, you people had the money to build the home, okay? You had enough money to build the home and put the roof, only for, what we say, a little bit boundary. You've been mean, or you...
Stingy.
Yes. That could have been just a few inches width of the, what we say, put a small wall. And especially when you are going and sleeping. Back in India, in those countries, during the summer, they go on the roof and sleep. Okay, وَمَنْ لَمْ يَرَى إِمَّا لِأَمِّ أَوْ لِسَتْرِهَا. And if someone hasn't taken notice of the well because the visitor is blind, أَوْ لِسَتْرِهَا, or because there was no sign or so, for the minhu, then the owner will be responsible and liable to pay the penalty, whatever is decided, depending how much injury he has sustained. ومن يقتطب أرضا فحذر دخولها على غير رب الأرض إن هوتت قدي. And if someone يقتطب أرضا, take controls of other person's land illegally and forcefully, okay, that is called ghasab, taking possession of other person's land illegally and with force. فحذر دخولها على غير رب الأرض. And if the person is making use of the land, yes, meaning it is not lawful for him. And scholars have differed. If a person is the one who has occupied another person's land illegally and forcefully, if he is praying in the land, scholars have differed whether the prayer will be accepted or not. So it is a serious issue. Okay, even though the correct opinion is the prayer is valid, because prayer has nothing to do with the other action, but still it is, he is saying don't make use of the land. Only the owner can enter. The real owner of the land, he has the right to enter. Even though you have occupied, you have taken it under your possession forcefully and legally. وإن لم تهود جاز فيها دخوله وأخذ الكلام منها على نص أحمدي. But he is saying if a land that has no boundaries, if there is a land and there is a grass over, it is a green land also, and the owner hasn't put a boundary, so are we allowed to take our animals to gaze therein? No. No? Okay, there is a hadith that says that people share three things: the greenery and water and fire. Okay? Meaning you have no right to prevent someone using the water, which is extra from your need, and the greenery as well. If you wanted to protect it, then put a fence. If it is an open area like land, farming land or so, and green, and you don't want other people's animal to come and gaze therein, then it is better to put a fence. If there is no fence, then the general ruling says that it is allowed. And the owner of those animals is not liable to anything. Because yes, it is your land and it is your grass or greenery, but if you wanted to protect it, you would have put a fence. If there is no fence, then animals are animals. They don't recognize whose land is there. Is it? Whenever they see the greenery, they will go. Okay, there was something during the time of Dawood alayhi salam and Sulaiman. Who is the father? Dawood. وَوَرِثَ سُلَيْمَانُ دَاوُودَ. So Sulaiman is son, Dawood is father. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave them the understanding of the matters. They used to pass judgment, Dawood and Sulaiman. So what happened? Someone came complaining that my neighbor's animals enter into the grapevine. How do you say grapevine? Yard. Wine. Vineyard. Okay, and they cause damage. So what Dawood alayhi salam decided, I think he decided, okay, take control of those animals. Okay, animals are yours. And Sulaiman alayhi salam was there, and he said, no, Dad, there's better judgment. Okay, tell him to keep the animals until the other person rectifies, meaning the damage that is caused, he has to rectify. So once it is done, then the animals has to be returned to the owner, and that was the just judgment. Okay.
That applies to all standing crop. Does that apply to all?
Yes, it is. And during those days, he can make benefit use of those animals. Sometimes, let's say it is cow that produce milk or so. So you're making use of those animals. So sometimes Sulaiman alayhi salam used to correct the judgment. There is another hadith that two women were disputing about the baby. Okay, that is very famous one, isn't it? Two women, one was little bit older, one was younger. They were disputing about a baby. Each one was claiming that it is her son. Okay, so Dawood alayhi salam, I think, decided to one of them. He made this, passed the judgment and gave the son to one of them. I mean, obviously he would also have looked for the clues and what we say, made assessment or so. And then Sulaiman alayhi salam said, hold on, let me decide. He said, bring the knife. Okay, he said to his workers, bring the knife, let me cut the boy into two pieces, each one can have half. So what happened? The real mother started panicking. She said, no, let him have. I'm withdrawing from my claim. And the other one was quiet, the fake mother. The fake mother was quiet. So Sulaiman said, she is the real mother. Okay, the baby belongs to you.